In a world where content is limitless, two dudes forge an unbreakable bond to become a part of something larger than themselves by creating a podcast unlike nothing the world has ever heard. Time is running out, and all hope will soon be lost. Their content could hold the key to fight against the darkness. No matter how many podcasts the people have listened to, they haven't heard us. Not us united.
Nick,
Yes.
do you like apples?
Oh boy. Here we go.
Well, how about them apples? You know what I mean? Hey, we're talking about Good Will Hunting.
Good Willie the Hunt.
Good Willy Wonka and the Hunting Chocolate Factory. Have you ever started a podcast better than that? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Nick, would you like to explain why we're talking about Good Will Hunting?
Yes. So, we have been reviewing over 20 movies. Well, I guess we've done over 20 episodes, but at this point, it's mostly just been reviews. And so we decided that we kind of wanted to revisit some older movies. We've done that kind of in a few different episodes, but we kind of wanted to express to you why we love those movies in particular. So while we'll probably score them and kind of review them in some ways, it's all coming from a lens of movies that we just want to share with people.
Mm-hmm.
This also coincides with a little side project that you and I are doing,
Yes.
where we'd like to pick like 2 movies a year from the early 90s to today, basically our lifetime, and write a little, I don't know what you would call it.
I call it a book.
You just call it a book.
So in my mind, I've always wanted to be an author.
Yeah.
Or like just have like a book. Like I don't care how many people buy it. I don't care whatever. I want to have like a physical book that like I've written. And so my idea I brought up to Nick was like we should write a book. We kind of came up with the idea of like what if we did like movies of our lifetime or like the best movies of our lives. So we started in 91.
Yes, 92.
92.
Right.
Sorry to make you a little older.
Yeah.
And so we started with Nick's birth year, if I can say.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fine.
And then we went.
If it's roughly wrapped up by next year sometime, it would be a clean 30.
A clean 30 for you, yeah.
Yeah.
So we're kind of taking that and also like, what if we did like, it's easiest to just like, if we write the review, we could just talk about the review. Yeah. So I guess we haven't picked our 1997 books or movies yet, but one of us could pick Good Will Hunting. Because
That's true.
I think we both love this movie.
I do think we both love this movie, and it could make its way into the book. I think this is just a mutual movie that we love.
True.
There probably will be a few movies that, that I love, that maybe you don't, or that you love and that I don't as much. But this one I think was mutual, so it made sense to go ahead and just talk about it. Yeah.
I think the idea of this was also just why we love movies. Like, let's talk about like movies that are just really great and kind of what movies kind of got us into movies or like different movies that we love that are just like, okay, this is a reason why we love cinema and we love movies more than like other art genres is because of just like the way this looks or like the way like how this movie made us feel. And I think Good Will Hunting is a really great example of that.
Yeah.
Of just like this movie is just one that makes you feel, and it's just like this is such a really interesting example of really like acting holding just a really high role. Acting and screenwriting is like the key to this movie.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
I think too, like as a like growing up, like when I got to like young adulthood or into like my early 20s, Good Will Hunting also just hit a little different too, because you knew that like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, this was kind of their start, and they were really young dudes who just had written a screenplay and were like, hey, we really want to make this movie. And so it just kind of was like, this one just hits a little different because it's like, oh man, this is kind of like ultimately something I would love to do one day. That would be fun, like just young dudes who like movies, and that kind of feels like where we fall into it. So I feel like it's just significant in that regard as well.
It's crazy to think like they just kind of wrote this and gave it to the studio and we're like, this is like a passion project of ours. Like, this is so weird to be like them looking back on them now and how much their careers have just been exploded. Like, literally, one of them became Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just like crazy to see like this is where they start off. Some guys from Boston, you know.
And one of them became Jason Bourne, which is basically just Batman, but he
Yeah.
just doesn't know that he's Batman.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's just crazy to like, I don't know. It's a cool success story for me to be like, and I have a soft spot for Matt Damon. I think he's a really cool guy.
Mm-hmm.
Ben Affleck is cool too. But
Yeah.
I might get into it, but I have a Matt Damon thing to share.
Oh boy.
Which I've shared with you very briefly, but we can get into that.
I don't know if I remember now.
We can get into that later.
Well, and that's fine because I am actually more of a Ben Affleck fan myself.
All right.
So, there
Mamma
you go.
mia.
He is my favorite Batman of all time. Ironically, even though I would say that out of all of the movies that he's in,
they're the worst ones.
I don't tend to like them as much, but I love him as Bruce Wayne.
Him as Batman is great. I agree with you that he might be the best Batman, even though Christopher Nolan's Christian Bale's Batmans are probably are I think by far the best ones. Mm-hmm. But him as Batman is good.
Yeah.
But Ben Affleck is, I think he's a great Batman. I agree. Until we see Robert Pattinson.
Until we see Robbie
Pat.
Woo!
Pat.
That does look like it could be good.
I'm
really trying not to get my hopes up.
I know. When we went and saw Dune, and I saw the trailer for the first time in the theater. Man, it was crazy. It was nuts. We were having a good time there.
He's walking in the fire, and just like having a Batman movie that like is going to be very red was wild. Like a lot of the scenes were very like at dusk, like a lot of orange.
It looks like it's shot immaculately.
Mm-hmm.
So very excited for that.
Yes.
But Good Will Hunting. What's your background with Good Will Hunting? Like, when was the first time you kind of saw it? Like, what's going on with that?
Not like at its release date or anything like that, but this was one of those movies where it was like it was not optional. My dad was like, "Hey, if there's going to be like 10 movies that you watch, it's Star Wars is one of them. Good Will Hunting is another. I couldn't tell you what the other 8 are, but I'm just saying like he's like, hey, these are it, you know. And he actually introduced me to a lot of like unique films that I wouldn't have normally watched, that are like, to me, are like staples. But then when I ask people, it's like, hey, have you seen like The Warriors? And people are like, what the hell's The Warriors?
The boxing movie, right?
No.
Oh.
The gang movie.
Oh, I haven't heard
So for me, it's like, dude,
insane.
The Warriors? Are you saying? You're like, he like introduced me to like a lot of these like weird cult classics. But the way he described them to me was like, oh, they're popular.
Oh, I know. The Warriors come out and play.
Yes,
I haven't
exactly.
Anyway, sorry.
Great movie. We should watch it together. Sure. That'd be a blast. Wild movie. But this was also one of them. And it's just classic. I mean, I'd be really curious on like who would have a lot of critiques against this film.
Yeah, I think the only thing you can say bad about this movie is it might be slow. But even then, like, I feel like I went in to rewatch this and I was like, oh, 2 hours. I'm like, oh, that's way longer than I remember. And then it just breezes by. It's so quick.
Yeah, and slow in and of itself isn't bad.
No, not at all.
You know what I mean? Like, sometimes it's intentional. Like, there's movies that like use slow to almost like drive you crazy. Like for me, like Midsommar was like one of the longest movies I've ever watched. Yeah, because like I just need to get out of here. Yeah, and it's like you want to leave, and somehow that makes it longer. In that regard, like, well done with pacing, because it's like, get me out of here. In this movie though, it lets everything breathe enough that by the time it ends, you've now care for like 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7 characters.
Pretty much
like
all,
it's like
yeah.
Every single person you're like, oh, I love that guy. Oh, I love that guy.
Yeah, there's like
I love that guy.
They take the time to make each character like feel real.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy it. I think this is such a character piece. I think my experience with this movie, I saw it, definitely didn't see it when it came out because I was a year old. It was released in 97.
Yeah.
And so I saw it freshman year of college. So like 2014, 2015 or so.
Oh, interesting. So within the last like decade,
Yeah, within the last like 6 years. So it wasn't like something I grew up on, which is interesting, and we can talk about later, like that your dad specifically brought up this movie, which has like a dad figure like
Mm-hmm.
issue almost.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But I never saw this movie, and I don't even think a lot of people really talk about this movie. And maybe it's just because I'm a little younger, and it's just like kind of skipped over me.
Mm.
But like a lot of people that I talk to don't really know what this movie is,
Yeah.
except for like, oh, that one with the Matt Damon
Mhm.
thing. But I saw it in college, and like, avid listeners of the podcast may know that like in 2014, 2015, I kind of had like a resurgence in like
right.
love
Yeah.
for movies, like right
Mhm.
around the Mad Max and
Yeah.
like Whiplash. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there's some pretty cool
We'll talk about that.
theatrical, like experiences. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I like that was definitely my turning point between like, oh yeah, I love Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and like great big epic blockbuster movies
Mm-hmm.
and like animated cartoon movies
Yeah.
like Atlantis and El Dorado and all this stuff that I love.
El Dorado.
Oh, Mamma Mia. That's going to be in the book.
Masterpiece.
Yeah, that's going to be in the book. Let me tell you that. That one's already written. It's ready to go.
We're getting some teasers.
But this is another example of like, oh wow, this is showing me like the art of cinema and showing me like this was like kind of a good study for me in like saying like, okay, this is something that isn't just like an action movie. This is like really like heart character driven, where like it is this slow pace and it is this like character piece, but like it is just like, I don't know, it was kind of like more than just it was eye opening to me in that like, oh, it's more than just, hey, you got Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like a movie can be more than just like
Yeah.
effects on a screen.
Right.
And so,
Yeah. No, that's fair. I think that's on like ultimately what you're starting to hear too around like the Marvel movies. You either like love them because you're like, hey, this is cool, they're giving us all these things, and then there's people who are just like, they're trash because they're not real
Right.
movies and all this stuff, and it's like, I think they've learned a thing or two since Star Wars, so I think they actually do have heart in them and stuff. But I do think that that's overall the critique.
Yeah, the thing that's hard to get is getting a nice heart to a movie and also having these great visual effects, which is maybe where Dune can succeed a little bit.
Yeah,
but like, I
you
guess
don't
just
wanna
like
rely on the special effects.
Yeah, like having this like
to take place of the heart.
Yeah, having like a less than $1 million movie here with Good Will Hunting. That probably took less than, I mean, I don't know salaries for Williams, but I think he did it pretty cheaply.
Mm-hmm.
But just like having such an emphasis on the script and the acting, and it's not just like, hey, blockbuster. Like having like a non-blockbuster movie just feel like, oh, this is like a different side to an art of cinema that I really enjoy now. Like looking like, man, this is like some of my favorite movies are like, as you know, indie. Weird, whatever, small budget.
I always give you crap for that, but it's like the truth is like if they never got Robin Williams for this film, no one would have seen it,
right?
And it would have been an indie, like not Golden Globe, like it would have not been known by the public as much,
right?
And I think like we really need to reflect on like what's getting out there to the people, because sometimes you're probably missing some like really beautiful pieces of art. Just because people want to go and eat popcorn and go, whoa, instead of like feel something, you know what I mean? Like, and that's not saying, I'm not trying to belittle that. If you want to go watch cars run into each other and blow up,
right?
Not naming any specific series, by all means, go after it, But sometimes it's these movies where you're like, oh, what I would give for like more Good Will Huntings to exist.
Yeah, I think there's value in both.
Yeah,
like. I kind of have this conversation with my dad. He's more of like an escapism in his movies. Like he wants to see like, I just want to have fun. I don't really want to think about
real things.
Or like I don't even want to like think about too many things. I just kind of like want to watch a movie and have good. And like obviously we like very similar movies, but like a Good Will Hunting, he'd be like, oh, it's good, but it's just not his cup of tea. And so like, I would be more like I like the good, like I like the Good Will Hunting, where it's kind of like, man, just rip my heart out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like I want to just die a little bit. Like,
yeah. No, I think I told you this, but there's like a random like once a quarter. Sometimes I'll just get like sleeplessness, and my only fix is sometimes I'll wake up at 2 a.m. It's like I can't sleep. So I just go down and I watch as many sad movies as I can until I fall asleep, or I just stay up for the rest of the night. It's just like the one thing. It's like I don't want something that's gonna be like wakes me up. I just want something that kind of could lull me back to sleep. But instead, I just end up like crying a bunch, and then I'm like, okay, I'm fine now.
You're like crying. I'm so tired. I can go to sleep now.
But I'm so sad.
You fall asleep from crying. Yeah.
But
yeah, there's those late nights where you can't go to bed, watch a movie. Yeah, great times.
But I think sometimes, like, if you have such an emotional reaction to a movie, it sometimes helps you remember. And I think that's why this one is stuck with us, because there is something to this movie. You can resonate it in a multitude of ways. There is love in this movie. It's a little more unorthodox than your like average one. Like there's no actual like closure at the end. You're just like there's hope at the end.
Right.
And then there's this really cool friendship that's formed. There's also just a lot of brokenness. Like it gets incredibly like dark and real, also while being like incredibly innocent and cool. And the other thing that I really like about this movie is it tackles the idea of what makes you intelligent. And there's this real duality in the movie of, well, this is what pays well, so get the degrees that pay well, because then that's considered successful intelligence, versus do what your like passion is and go deep into what your passion is, and you might make less, but in the end you like really care about what you're doing,
right?
You know? And so that's what that's probably my favorite part of this movie, is basically the duality of Robin Williams and Stellan Skarsgård's characters of like, Will should go and be a smart dude who could like make millions of dollars
and to get like all these awards and these accolades, and like,
he's so smart, what a waste if he doesn't do this. And like Robin Williams is here going, none of it matters in the end if you don't like care and enjoy about what you're doing, you know, like all the awards wouldn't bring his wife back, you know, all the intelligence could never get him to the fulfillment that he's looking for in life, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that just lines up with probably both of our life philosophies. And like Robin Williams is just like the love and just like, hey, just like go get the girl. And I'm like, yeah, go get the girl, dude.
Jeez, my guy.
All right, see you later. I think that's what the end, and like I guess we can move into. I don't think we were in non-spoileries, I guess, but like I think the ending speaks to like that.
Yeah.
Kind
and
of
everyone's had about 20 years, so
yeah, triumph. So, do we want to say anything about non-spoilers, or because like I don't want to be like, oh, spoiler time, and no one be ready.
I feel like you clicked on this one if you're like,
if you know what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
And we'll title it Movies We Love, and so I think at that point people are gonna be like, oh, I want to know why they love it.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna tell you.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying spoilers from now on. I'm gonna say I'm free
Fair
to
enough.
talk about
Yeah,
spoilers.
yeah. Conscious. Yeah. You're okay.
Yeah. Conscious. Yeah.
It's clean.
Yes, it's clean. My heart is clean. Yeah. So the ending where he like chooses to go for the girl.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah. What would you say? So there's no like, when I think about this movie technically, there's no like specific camera thing that I'm like thinking about, but I'm almost like, isn't that the achievement of itself? That I'm not like, oh, that edit was insane. It was just like, not every movie has to have like some sick like continuous one shots or stuff like that, or like some weird gimmick to look how cool this is, but like I like it. Like everything felt like pretty intimate when it needed to feel intimate, and then it kind of like widened when things needed to kind of feel distant and worried and stuff like that. So
two things about that.
Yeah.
One, I think your point of not noticing it is valid.
Yeah.
And being like, yeah, that's like a lot of people say about a good score, which I think can be a little demeaning to it, where it's like, if you don't hear a good score, then it's a good score, because then like it blended in with the movie. A fair point. And so the editing, I think, is a little bit harder to notice than like a blatant like a 1917.
Yeah.
Or like there's that scene in Creed where there's that one shot of like the one of the fights is just a one shot.
But I think like I guess what I'm trying to say is like the way it's shot is just,
it's intimate.
Get ready for what these guys are about to do. We're about to just give them the stage.
Yeah.
Because there's a few of those like Ben Affleck's like faking to be Good Will Hunting interview. Absolutely iconic. Insane. Like I love it. Like,
and it's shot like it's shot very well because
Yeah.
it's shot like you see
Yeah.
you start from like you do an establishing shot of the office, then you move
Yeah.
up to the three people who are on the board, and you don't hear the voice, and then when you hear the voice, then the camera turns and
Yes.
shows Ben Affleck.
Yeah, exactly.
So that again, it's like technically shot well, but like
Yes.
that's not what you're really thinking about during this scene. You're thinking
Yeah.
about the character, which is ultimately what you're.
Yeah. So I guess I shouldn't say it as a critique of like against it. It's almost like,
No,
hey,
no.
you've like let me just like I almost feel like I've gone into this movie.
And that's I understood it like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are two shots that I really much enjoyed. One of them is when Ben Affleck is giving his speech to Matt Damon, where he's like,
I don't want
to see you here in 50 years. And so like I just always love one shots and zoom ins on people. So I'm a sucker for it. So they're like sitting on the car and he's having the converation and Matt Damon's like, man, I'm going to be here for the rest of my life. I'm going to be here for the rest of my life.
Boston,
hey, Boston Patriots. And then, and then Ben Affleck, like, and the camera's static at that point. And Ben Affleck turns and says like, I don't want you to be here. And then the camera starts to move.
Oh,
and that brings a lot of like, movement to the scene, and so now we're going into as Ben Affleck is talking, it zooms in closer on Matt Damon and his reaction. So I think that is very nicely shot. So it's like there's moments like that, and another part that I like just caught for the first time. I think this viewing, which is probably my third or fourth viewing of the movie, when Stellan Skarsgård goes to like the janitors, their office, and is like, "Hey, I'm trying to find Mr. Goodwill Hunting," and they're like, "Yeah. Boston.
Yeah.
F out of here, Boston. Go Boston.
Wicked, get out of
here.
Hey,
my wicked smart. Yeah. So there's a really cool moment where I might even be like a little bit of a mistake, but like, so you see there's like, panning back and forth between the two of them, the professor and his assistant, and then the two janitors. And so the two janitors are talking, and it's hard to describe, but like it's shot on the janitors and they're like responding. And the camera moves forward. Well, okay, so there's everyone's standing still, and they're talking, and then as soon as we get the perspective of Stellan Skarsgård, like looking at the janitors, the camera starts to move, and that's when we get a cut to Stellan Skarsgård actually moving towards the janitors. So it's kind of hard to describe. So like, as the camera started moving, it got like everyone prepped for movement.
Interesting.
And so. As the camera started moving towards you, felt like you were Stellan Skarsgård moving into talking with the janitors more.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I get what you're saying.
It's hard to describe.
Yeah, I'll have to rewatch that again.
That scene, cool. If you see, there's like a 1 second movement.
Yeah,
when it's
just
before,
to create motion.
Yeah, it creates motion. Yeah.
That's neat. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm like trying to like think of other things we can talk about before the acting, because obviously that's just like...
I think. What about the theme, like Boston? Did you feel like you in Boston?
Oh, I love this movie, wicked hot. I love it. No, that was good, and it wasn't like everyone had to have that act. It wasn't like everyone's just like Robin Williams fit right in without having to have like a crazy accent, And also, oh man. Now that I've started talking about Robin, okay.
Let's just get
here. It goes. I want to dress like Robin Williams so badly. I want those sweaters. I do have the hat, but I need like another couple of those hats.
Yeah.
And then, oh, dude, that's just the magic of this movie is not only is it so good. But it's like, it gives you a glimpse to be like, hey, remember that guy who's an absolute spaz on stage? Watch him, like, bring down the house.
This is his best performance.
It's insane.
He's
a comedic genius.
Yeah, he's
he says, like, 3 funny things tops in this movie. You're just like, dude, this guy is incredibly talented beyond...
He's so reserved
what people know him for.
Yeah, he's so, like, quiet and gentle in this performance. And it's my favorite performance of his by far.
Yeah.
He's so just genuine and open and comforting, and like having the movie just set around like this idea of like counseling is such an interesting topic, and just diving into that mindset. And him like I would love to say that like this movie would still succeed without Robin Williams. One, because
perhaps it was just that well written.
Because it was that well written. And then maybe people would still see it because it was that good, but I don't think I can say that because Robin Williams really like just nails it. he crushes it.
I heard some of the lines that he says too are like he was just jiving and was just like, hey, like, son of a bitch, he stole my line.
Yeah.
All Robin Williams. Not actually written.
Oh, that's insane.
I think it was just like, I think he was supposed to be like, good line.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess like one take, he was just like, son of a bitch, stole my line. And there's like, fuck, dude, all right, you're in. Like,
he's so
you
good.
You win.
I think how he got connected to the project was like Affleck and Damon like gave the script to the producers, and Robin Williams read it. And he's like, I need to be this character.
Yeah.
Like he read it. And he's like, I'm connected to this project.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think Stellan Skarsgård wasn't super well known at the time.
He's had such a long career that I don't know. He could have also like peaked and then kind of disappeared for a little bit. Peaked. Like I think he's been around doing stuff quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
He kind of reminds me of like a Donald Sutherland or something, where it's just like, dude has popped off multiple times in multiple decades.
Mm-hmm.
I just give him the benefit of the doubt.
Mm-hmm.
This could have been some of his first work. I don't remember, but he's old enough that
he's been around for a while.
But
do you have a favorite Robin Williams scene in this movie?
It's probably a tie. Well, I mean, shit. I mean the repetition of "It's not your fault" is
it's so good.
I mean, that's a Nick out of 10 scene right there. Yeah, I mean, there's genuine connection from, you can get past this, trust me. And it's not because you're amazing or you're great. Like, it's just like, look, you are holding on to a burden that you were never meant to carry. And I feel like anybody who watches this could probably resonate with that scene of like, you're probably holding on to something from your past that you need to let go. Yeah. One, because it doesn't do you any good. It just weighs you down. And two, it probably was something out of your control. And so if it was something you could do, go ask for forgiveness for sure. But like, if it wasn't something you did, because like at one point during that scene, Will is basically like, he gave me 3 options of what he could beat me with. It was like my belt, or his belt, like his something, or like a hammer. And he said, I always pick the hammer because screw him, that's why. And you're just like, dude, that's insane. Like, that just like, woof. Can't say I resonate with that, but the whole like, it's not your fault of like, you didn't deserve to be treated that way, regardless of who made you think you did, that's wild. That was a great scene.
I think the beauty of that scene, if we want to stay there for a moment, is that was me. Okay, good. As Matt Damon's response to that scene, it starts like, it's not your fault. And Matt Damon's like, yeah, sure, whatever, don't care. Yeah. And it's like, it's not your fault.
After like 3 times,
and it's not your fault. Like he says it so much, and just like the slowly breaking down.
All of a sudden, you see the vulnerability. Like
and that just feels so real and so genuine, and like,
very well done.
I cry there every time. It's so good.
Can you imagine flexing? Like, okay, so like, pretend you're what? Are these guys like 19?
Something like that. Yeah, 20s, early 20s.
You wrote
max.
a movie. You got Robin Williams in your movie. You win. Like, good job. Now you get to act with Robin Williams. You win. Third, you act as good as Robin Williams in the scene with Robin Williams. You win. Yeah. Like, he could have made this movie and just said, "I'm done."
I honestly love Matt Damon. He's still writing off of Good Will Hunting. Like,
hell yeah. Why wouldn't? I mean, it was just so good. Like, and that's not even like a shame, Like, you got to make your paychecks now. Just cash in. Like, you made it to the NBA. Like, now just don't get hurt.
Yeah.
Like,
that's pretty much
this was it.
Yeah.
You don't have to make another good, like, I don't know. Like, this is, I don't know. I'm trying to think. Like, this is your once in a lifetime movie.
Yeah. It's just, it's a home run at your first at bat. You win an Oscar for screenwriting in this movie. Matt Damon's only Oscar. And it's just like, it's insane. Like, to hold par with like a titan of acting. Oh, it's that scene.
Who could just take it in any direction.
Yeah.
Like, He
I'm
is
sure
in
there's some
control.
improv again in there.
Woof.
Yeah.
Woof.
Oh, it's so good. That
I'm
is
speechless.
and the whole movie is like building up to this scene.
Yeah.
Like it's just like oh, it's nice and there's like, good and bad stuff that's happening, but just like the slow breakdown of that scene. Again, it's shot very well where the camera, there's no cuts. It's just held on Matt Damon. The pressure is on Matt Damon.
Yeah.
And then he finally breaks.
Mm-hmm.
Like this whole movie, he's been strong. He's been fighting back, lashing out, and then he just breaks, and it just like, oh, it's just like such a release to the movie that just like feels, it just feels so impactful. So that moment is by far like the best.
Yeah.
It makes this movie.
But I will say, the one that I think like I would go to often though of just like good lessons is the one when they're on the bench and he goes, "You think you're hot shit because you can solve a few math problems?
Yeah.
I don't give a shit."
Yeah.
And it just like cuts him at his like Matt Damon's the whole time is like, "No one can beat me because I'm the best." And he's like, "What? I don't give a shit if you're the best. How are you at like caring for people?"
Yeah.
And he's just like, "Well," it's like, "Yeah, that's what I thought."
Well, it's also too, he makes the point of like, I'm sure you could tell me when the Sistine Chapel was made.
Yeah.
That's
But you'll never
yeah.
understand like why it was painted the way that it was. Or,
Exactly.
Like, the beauty.
Or the beauty,
behind it.
yeah. And that's like just like, oh, I just love that idea.
Knowing
of, like,
versus seeing,
yeah,
or like
or experiencing, or like,
Mhm.
yeah, you never been outside of Boston. You probably never drank something that isn't Sam Adams. Which God bless you, but
Yeah.
go Pats or whatever.
Go Pats.
But like having that idea of like, yeah, Good Will Hunting is a genius. He is a genius. He's a one in a billion generational genius.
Yeah.
But like, if you're not experiencing life, then what's the point?
Exactly.
Like you need to be like living with people and loving people
Right.
and like living your life. You can't be like, well, I filled this math problem.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, every time I go to pay my like student loans, I never go, "Man, thank you for the degree you gave me." But what I do say is, you know what? This is a small price to pay for the friendships and the like current relationships that I have now and like where I'm at socially, financially, and all this stuff is because of the people that I met through that experience,
Yeah.
But no, I never give them $1 and be like, "Gosh, thank you for such a quality."
Wow. you look at your degree and you look at it, put it on your wall or whatever, and you're
It's
like
hell
that's
yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
That degree that I had to pay $30 to get
Yeah.
shipped to me. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I liked about this movie too was you don't need someone to tell you you got your degree as long as you're like you can be self-taught. Like he was to the point where like he just kind of would get honorary degrees because of how smart he was.
Yeah.
Like he didn't actually have to attend college,
Yeah.
That's wild.
That's
And
insane.
it also just shows you like I just thought that was an interesting like I know we don't know many I don't know too many like genius level people that didn't go get formal education. However, I don't think it has to necessarily correlate. Like there is enough information out there. It's just are you willing to put in the and he did. Like he was like I just read all the books in the library.
Yeah. He just had like this hunger for knowledge where he just like learned. He like took the time and like he didn't just went to pay the degree route. He just like went to the library. That's the line where he's like talking to the guy in the bar. I was like, "Hey, you paid $50,000. I paid a $150 late fee at the library."
Oh, how you like them apples?
I like them apples, baby. Hey, get your apples out.
Yeah. I can't get over the fact of like this is your first at bat.
Yeah.
And you kill it. But I think for me it's just like that's what I love those. Like if there's a story that comes to you, it can be beautiful to other people besides you because like this was just their first shot and that's awesome.
It's a beautiful story. Would you talk to the point you mentioned earlier of like basically selling out? Like he goes to all the interviews. He has that line with the CIA. It's like, well, I could do this except if I do that and I unknowingly like kill these whatever people. Like what of that specifically kind of spoke to you? Like we kind of hinted towards some of it.
Yeah. You're talking about like if I help create the bomb and then the bomb hits the thing.
And like so like you could either go the path of like making so much money and going with the CIA and probably get paid millions of dollars, or like going for the girl.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the duality was that none of it's ever guaranteed, but you could tell, like, within the movie that it, like, made Stellan Skarsgård, like, dumbfounded when he's like, yeah, but, like, what's he living for? He's like, what do you mean, what is he living for? Like, he couldn't even wrap his head around, like,
Mm-hmm.
and
like,
he would make
want a
fun of
Nobel
Robin
Prize.
Williams
Yeah.
for, like, so what, you got a girl out of it. And it's just like, yeah, but you don't understand, like, the path you're going down will maybe help lead more people to get to know more things, but it's never ending. Intelligence is never ending.
Yeah.
So if you want to set your entire life's goal to maybe passing the baton 5 yards down the line, by all means, job well done. Or do you want to make memories with people that you love?
Mm-hmm.
There's just going to be, I think greater value in that. And and then you get to the point where Will's starting to tackle that, and he's like, he gets really nervous, so he basically just starts making up, like, the grandest excuses to get out of it. Like, what happens if I blah, 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 blah. Like, it's the longest excuse
Yeah.
ever given to anything, but, yeah, dude, I think in the end, you don't take anything with you, except for, who you have in your life, and so no matter how much quote-unquote financial success you've achieved here, in the end, does it really matter? I mean, yeah, it's great to provide for your, family and kids and all that stuff, but, like, isn't it just also better to have family and kids, like, instead of being able to just provide for, like, I think there needs to be more of that, and so
it feels very much like an About Time in that sense. Living in the moment, living with the people around us.
Yeah, that's a great connection. Yeah, that's, like, really good. Oh, I forgot about that.
You forgot about Time, the greatest movie.
I didn't forget about that, but, like, the connection, I didn't even think of it as, like, I have this great gift, and I'd actually be willing to just not use it, because it's just better to live every day like it's a great day.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to worry me.
Oh, I'm just thinking about Time, and these two movies are making me very emotional.
They both have.
They're making me cry.
Yeah.
Again, another great Robin Williams scene. Again, like picking people over things. The Red Sox game, and hitting the home run, and him being like, I found her. Like, I found a girl, and, like, I don't care what was I was going to go to Game 6 of the World Series and have this beautiful moment, and the stands would be crazy. Like, I found her. Like, I found what I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And just, like, having that be like, yeah, hey.
That whole build up, and he's like, and then you went there, he's like, nah, I didn't make it.
No, I didn't see it. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's like, oh, the Sox, go Sox, baby.
Yeah, and even Will's just like, oh, and then that, and then he's like, nah, I didn't even get to go.
They didn't see it.
No, she what was it? Didn't she get sick or something? He had to, like, help her?
No, he just, like.
Oh, he just bumped into her, and he's like, never mind, this is the girl.
Yeah, they met at the bar, and he's like, yep, say, sorry, guys, gonna hang out with her.
Yeah. And then he's just like, well, there's just a lot of, like, profound moments where it's like, the obvious thing is you're going to go to the World Series. You're going to go make, all this money. You're going, it's like, doesn't matter, dude. Yeah. Like, in the end, like, not that you can't experience those fun things and gain wealth and all that stuff. Yeah. It's just like, it should never be your primary motivator, I think this movie kind of warns you against it.
Yeah.
The other thing, too, is I think it also expresses, this is my opinion, but I don't know how many people would disagree with me, is how profound having someone older in your life who cares for you.
Yeah.
And how far that can go. Granted, this is a completely manufactured story, but I think it's hitting on some very, like, real themes. He didn't really have a good father figure, so he kind of has just learned to say screw you to anybody of, like, authority and just make his whole life against that. But finally having somebody just be patient with him, that was the cool thing too, was, like, Robin Williams, his entire strategy was never to, like, fix him within, like, one session.
Yeah. And that's what everyone else has kind of seemed
They were hoping for, like, the quick fix. Let's get you to here. Let's get you, like, they treated him as a machine, whereas Robin Williams treated him as like
a
person.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
So good, dude.
So how does that, like, it's just such an interesting movie to have your dad show you, in my opinion. Just to be like, hey, this guy has father issues anyways.
Yeah. Well,
but it sounds like it just like
yeah, my dad would just he's more of like, hey, I experienced something dope, you should check this out.
Yeah.
It's not like, hey, I'm only going to show you ones with strong father figures in them, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it is like anybody could be Robin Williams to any other person. Like that could be an older brother, that could be just a good friend, that could be a father of somebody who doesn't have a father, you know, or something like that. And the biggest thing was like he didn't actually like fix his stuff. He like Will still had to do the work, but he just helped him. Like he listened. He kind of called him out on his BS from time to time, and then just was like, he ultimately just made him know that no matter how sarcastic you are, you will have to come face to face with what you're hiding from, you know, and was just patient with him, you know, and that was really cool. So
yeah, I think part of the beauty of Robin Williams' character is that like he isn't just like, oh, Will, you're like listening to Will and be like, oh, sorry, I feel so sorry for you, but he has that pushback, he has that like tough love with him, or like and even like he hears Will's words and like lashes out himself, but then he like admits his wrongs, like and he's like, look, hey, like I understand like why you said that, and so like he just like was very mature, and that it's just like was like, oh man, that's like who you want to be, and like he's just a great role model.
Yep.
And so again, Robin Williams.
Yep. My guy.
Goated.
Love him. Let's see.
I have the beginning of this movie. If you have anything else you want to talk about,
Go for it.
I just love how that within like 10 minutes of this movie, our main character is beating up another person and gets arrested. And like, this is who we're rooting for. I'm like, yeah. Oh wait, is this good?
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, Tommy, you remember me? We were in kindergarten. Pop. Oh, it's so good.
It's just so aggressive.
And I just love that. Yeah. It just made it feel like it was very like Boston camaraderie, you know? And it was just like they're in the car, they're in the car, you know? They're in the car. Then in the car by the harbor. And they're like, they pull over and like Matt Damon wants to fight the guy, and the other people are like, yeah, sure, whatever, let's go.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. I do remember. They're like, "Hey, we're fighting." They're like, "All right, we're fighting."
Yeah.
Just like, here we go.
It just feels so like, I don't know. It just feels like, I don't know, community. It was just like, "Hey, we're gonna fight this guy." And it's like, "Wait, if we were gonna fight this guy, we should have done it at the bar or whatever." It's just like, I don't know. And then Casey Affleck joins, and it was funny.
Casey Affleck, classic. That's the other cool message too, is that community is important. But I mean, you want to talk about maturity. How about some guy who realizes that his life is probably going to stay the same this entire time, but realizes that his friend has so much more potential,
right?
That he's willing to be like, hey, like, don't waste your gift. And if that means I don't get to be your friend in the end, I would rather never be your friend, and you get to do what you get to do.
Yeah.
Then, you know. And that's cool. I don't think you should ever feel guilted into being like, just because you really are good at math doesn't mean, hey, you should just do math forever. But there is a beauty in like,
him
I love you so much that if I have to not have you in order for you to have a better life, by all means, I will pick that for you.
It's a crazy like maturity, and like again, like another tough love thing where it's like, man, I feel like I don't do that at all. Where it's just like, oh yeah, everyone just like do whatever you want, and just like having that like having, I don't know if I could ever say to someone like that, of like a friend of mine, be like, hey, if you were like to like grow up and make $1 million and you go move to California or whatever, and it's like you should do that, and like I don't want to be your friend anymore. It's like, it feels so like, oh, like the coming from that tough love spot is like so cool.
Yeah. Like
to be like, hey, you're destined for like greatness, and like you shouldn't be where I am. Where I am, I'm great for where I am, but where I am is not where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. I mean, it's the way like he sees his giftings and goes, man, like the things I would do if I could do what you did,
Mm-hmm.
I would be out of here in a heartbeat. Like, you need to see that, like, yeah, there's some beauty in, like, what we get to do, but we're making the most with what we have. I see that you have much more.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need this, you know, if you don't want it, you know, and stuff. Yeah, and that, I think that's part of what makes me also just go, like, how the hell did 220-year-old dudes have,
right?
like, the depth of knowledge to talk like they're, 60 years old? Like, we've lived this life, and you should, it's like, bro, like, when I was like, I hardly got hurt by the time I was 20. Like, I can't even think of, like, the depths of, like, hurt. Like, I almost wonder, like, was this based off of someone, like, that they knew? Because, like, it's just, how do you know the depths of, like, what made you take this turn and that turn in the story? And it's just like, dang. I mean, I get it. More people probably helped them out and whatnot. But
yeah, but like in general, it's still like,
yeah, it just felt
amazing.
It felt so authentic that in the end, you're like, damn.
Yeah.
Hope these guys are okay. Like, or at least in their 20s. I hope Matt Damon, like, this wasn't actually his childhood or something. Where
I just want to figure out Matt Damon's age.
Yeah, I think they had to have been about 20, 21-ish.
Okay, so he's 51 years old right now. He was born in 1970, so he was 27 when this movie came out. So he was like 25. So like still mid-20s. Like, that'd be us writing this right now.
Yeah,
we could probably do. We could make Good Will Hunting.
We could probably make Good Will Hunting. Oh my god!
You know what a greatest movie of all time? Yeah, you and I could do that.
Yeah, like, we got like half an hour tonight. Let's write The Godfather. What are you doing? What are you saying? Just like, really in depth, like, broken childhood. Just some other guy who's like lived like a full life, has a wife. Like, how the hell? What the? You're insane, dude.
We could do it.
Yeah, it does give me hope though to be like, you can still write beautiful things even if you haven't experienced. Like, sometimes you can get caught in like, oh, you need to have experienced everything, because it probably would make it more authentic. But like, at 25 years old, I mean, who knows what these guys have actually gone through. So to write something like that insane was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's safe to say we love this movie.
Yes, we do love this movie. I have more about Matt Damon.
Oh, yes. We need to figure out the closure of what's your Matt Damon thing. I forget.
Is there anything else you want to say about this movie? Because we're going to take a huge tangent.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know what you mean by Matt Damon. You think all of this. Yeah. Okay. Shout outs to Minnie Driver.
Yep.
Has one of the most inappropriate but hilarious jokes in the movie.
Oh my gosh.
Let's see what else. Casey Affleck, God bless you. That other guy and their crew that gets beat up a lot. I think... Yeah, I think, like, if you want to... I think both Ben Affleck's scene where he's interviewing and Good Will Hunting's, because his first name's Good, is coming up with the excuse to not do it, are both just, like, amazing for being, like, some of their first big things, but also just, like, in general, to do that many lines back to back to back in a single shot, that's some stuff. Like, if you want to go back and just watch, like, somebody pop off acting-wise, that was awesome.
That's this movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a great movie.
Love it.
You want to go in some weird territory?
Yeah. Oh, first. So, would you say that every movie that you love that's going into this book is technically a 10 out of 10?
No.
Well, okay.
Personally, it's a 10 out of 10 to me.
That's what I'm saying. Would you say, like, it's maybe a 7 out of 10, but to me personally, it's a 10 out of 10? Like,
I would say that both. For the case of Good Will Hunting, this is like a 9, at least.
Okay. But there's just that extra, like, emotional thing that,
like,
to you personally,
this movie connected to me, and so this is why it could be in the book. Like, El Dorado, I know is like a 7 out of 10 for most people, but for me, I have such a history with it. It's a 10. It's an 11 out of 10. I love that. Like, so for the book, yes, there's some movies where it's like, hey, this isn't the best movie, and I know that, but I connected with it. But this one is like, this is like a really good movie. Like, I think undoubtedly this is a good movie.
So I think it'll be that I just wanted to say that as like a warning, since this is like our first one, is we are by no means saying that these movies will be technically 10 out of 10 masterpieces, but because of something that we clicked with, or something that during that time, there's going to be movies in our lifetime where it's like, where were you when? And these are going to tend to be those movies for us because there's something that resonated with us beyond it. So it may not be a masterpiece to the masses,
right?
But for us personally, we love them. And
I think like About Time is a great example.
Yeah.
I think Endgame, I think Dune, like
yeah,
like those aren't 10 out of 10 movies. Like there's stuff there that's like, oh, it's not like technically shot well. It's like, oh, this little thing didn't make
Right.
sense. But like personally, like that's what the beauty of cinema is like this movie can be so impactful to you. It's like this is a 10 out of 10 to me.
Yeah, exactly. We can kind of like look past the review score and kind of give
I don't even know if I could give us like I would say 9, but like I would say just I love this movie. So if I were to like see someone who hasn't seen it, we're like, hey, you should watch this movie.
Yes,
like it's just like it's an automatic recommendation for me.
These movies will always be something that like, oh, you haven't seen a movie, well, let me get you started.
Yeah, these are just like, it's a favorite movie of mine.
It's either a gateway movie or like once you've seen a couple, we think these might be the pinnacle of like that type of movie or something like that.
Yeah, so, I agree.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Let's get into the
Mamma Mia.
The Damon CU.
So first off, I got pretty obsessed with Matt Damon after I saw Good Will Hunting.
Of course you did.
And I randomly looked up, like I was curious to see like some stuff about. So I looked up his birthday and whatever, and underneath that was like his kids' names, and so his kid's name is Gia Zavala Damon.
Wow. You think he named him after you?
Yes, 100%. So,
named her after you.
Yes. So Matt Damon has a child named after me, and that's 100% true, and you can look that up. But that just made me very happy.
Okay.
Nice. You're looking at me like, okay.
There is more, though, right?
Oh, there's way more.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were just like, hey, just get this out of the way because we're about to take a big old tangent. His daughter has the same middle name as me. Anyway, have a good night, everyone. It's like, what is going on? Okay.
No, we're still leading up to the tangent. I just wanted to say
you're unpredictable enough though that I would expect you to just be like, hey, right, and then be done. And it's like, dude. Anyway.
Hey, gotta keep it fresh. Gotta keep it spicy, you know.
Yeah. All right.
All right. The big tangent is after. Yes, I saw Good Will Hunting, and obviously I saw Jason Bourne and Saving Private Ryan and other Matt Damon movies. Oceans.
Yeah.
11, 12, and 13. And then The Martian was coming out, and I read the book. And I saw Matt Damon, Mr. Mars, and I was like, "This is a great movie."
Yeah, got it.
Nick, you're gonna have to hold on for a second here.
Mr. Mars. I just don't want to give you what you're looking for right now, which is me laughing so hard.
I want it so bad. Give it to me, Nick. I can see the joy that's coming from this.
It hurts.
Okay, so I came up with the idea. You know how there was the Marvel Cinematic Universe?
Yes.
Well, the only thing you have to change is the first name. You keep it the MCU, the real MCU.
The Matt Damon.
The Matt, and maybe do MDCU or whatever.
The MDCU. the MDECU.
Yeah.
The Matt Damon
extended. So the technical name actually is the Damon-verse, but we can say the MDCU for those.
Wait, the technical term of something you made up?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There's okay, got it.
Because I invented it. So I think that how every Marvel Cinematic movie is in the same universe. I think every single Matt Damon movie is in the same universe.
Okay. And evidence.
Mamma mia, how much time do you got?
He's like, I thought you'd never ask.
Here's what I think. Okay. Here's the basic timeline. Mr. Private Ryan.
Yes. Comes back from war. Has a son, and who has a son, okay.
who is Mr. Good Will Hunting.
Mr. Good Will Hunting.
And that man is a genius.
Yep.
He figures out numbers, math very well. And he at the end of this movie, he's from Boston. He's at the end of this movie, he drives out to California. On his way to California, there's a movie called Rounders.
Yes, where
he's really good at poker.
Yeah, great movie.
Math. You got to be really good at math to be good at poker.
Good Will Hunting is in Rounders.
Is in Rounders.
Okay.
I think that
the same
person.
Same Will Hunting.
It's Mr. Will Hunting. He just changes his name because
Mr. Will Hunting.
Mr. Will.
Okay, got it. Okay. Willie the Hunt. Got it.
Willy Wonka, the chocolate hunting sauce. You know what I mean?
Okay. Hurry. We're losing them. Michael, we're losing them.
You guys can stop listening at this point. We may cut this out. It's okay.
No, we're not. We're keeping it forever. We're going to call this Movies We Love, Good Will Hunting.
And also Michael goes crazy for 10 minutes.
And the Wonka-verse, or whatever. Okay,
the Willy Wonka, Damon. Yeah. Okay, so he goes with Edward Norton or whoever.
Yep.
And he finds his tool of poker, of counting, because he's a math genius. He then goes to a little place called Las Vegas.
Yes. I don't like how you're looking at me right now. You're scaring me. You're really, like, intense. You're like, goes to this little city called Las Vegas. Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it? And he teams up with a team to do some crime because he needs some money because he's broke. So he needs some money.
So you think Ocean's
I think
11 is still Will Hunting?
Yeah.
That's
Ocean's 11, 12,
that's a stretch. He's a little shy in that movie.
You don't know that. It's just like a different...
I don't know that? What do you mean I don't know that? He's so not good Will Hunting in that movie. Anyway, continue.
He has a background of being a little bit of a shady guy. Maybe he grows. Maybe like
shady, maybe, but not like this guy. Literally was like, "Hey, remember me from kindergarten?" What? Like he's not shy.
You can develop as a character, as a person.
So maybe he's undercover.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yes, it's gonna
You're
get
losing
it's gonna get worse.
Okay.
It's gonna get worse.
Okay. Then he becomes a puppet. Yeah. Okay.
No, that's a parody.
That's a parody.
That's a parody.
So
yeah.
that's not actually Matt Damon.
Yeah, that's a parody.
Okay.
Matt Damon. So he does that, and then he goes to man. It's been a while since I've explained this
little place called Mars.
Well, we're getting there.
We're getting there. Okay.
So he then he's tired of making money. Oh man, it's been a hot minute, but this is not gonna make sense. But it's already not gonna make sense. It's gonna make more not sense because I haven't talked about this in a while. But he's tired of making money, so he retires and he buys a zoo.
Okay.
And he has his kids or whatever, and he has a zoo, and it's like, oh, you know what? Great. I'm I'm family time. But he gets bored, and so he's like, you know what? I want to, with my genius powers. No, actually, the zoo comes later. We're sorry. After Oceans, he's like, I want to keep doing some criminal stuff, so he becomes Jason Bourne.
Where he forgets who he is.
Where he forgets who he is.
Classic.
And he does all of Jason Bourne. Then he gets the zoo because he retires.
Because now he has the money.
And he's like, you know what? I don't want to be part of Mr. Jason Bourne's. But then he gets bored.
What about the talented Mr. Ripley?
That's just Good Will Hunting, but different.
Well, that happened before any of the movies that you just mentioned.
I can't say every single movie.
Okay.
Nick, this is a broad stroke. This is a broad stroke, okay?
Sorry.
That takes place around the same time as Good Will Hunting.
Okay, got it.
Okay? Look, if you want to spend an hour, I got 50 movies to talk about, okay? But I'm doing broad strokes.
Broad strokes.
Okay. So then he gets tired of being a zookeeper, and all of a sudden, you know what? There's more exploration in space. There's more, things going on. And so he signs up for the Ares 3 program to go to Mars.
Okay.
And so he No, Nick.
Hold on. I need to pause you there. You know what? He's lived in a zoo and he goes, you know what? There's just not enough exploration here. I need to go to space.
Yes.
What's he explore? Okay, got it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, he's a genius. He's a botanist. He's smart.
He's a botanist. No, you're not. Okay. Anyway,
he bought a zoo. He has to grow plants.
Okay, continue.
This is foolproof, Nick. So he goes to space. And why would we spend so much money to bring one person back if it wasn't Jason Bourne? It's an inside job, Nick. The government was trying to get Jason Bourne back off Mars. That makes the most sense, right? So that's why they spend so much money to get him back, and they bring him back. And you know what they do? They take Jason Bourne, and he's such a good agent, a good specimen, a good person, or like a good like kind of tool to use. So
they clone him.
They clone him.
Nice. Okay.
They clone him and they put him on another space mission.
Yeah.
To an ice planet.
Technically, that one came out first. Interstellar came out first.
Yeah, but it's in future-wise, in the timeline. That's future Earth.
Okay.
That the movie is
doesn't matter when it released.
It doesn't matter when it was released.
Okay.
No. It's all timeline-wise. So like that movie was released in like 50 or something, right? I don't know exactly, but like
fair enough.
That's in the future, so that's not Matt Damon. That's a clone of.
Okay. Yep. That's a clone of Matt Damon.
That's a clone of Jason Bourne. Because do you know his name in that movie? His name is Man.
Yeah, something Man.
It's just Man.
Dr. Man.
Dr. Man. What kind of generic name do you give Man?
Yeah.
Like, come on, that's a clone name.
Okay.
Anyways, you know the movie Elysium?
Yeah.
He's also in that.
Exoskeleton. He's also in that.
That's the future. Then also future was this movie Titan AE, where he's saving humankind. So Jason Bourne's great grandson is saving the human race.
Okay. I mean, it checks out to me.
Yeah, no
questions here.
Yeah, no problems with that at all. I'm very happy.
And the MDECU, baby.
MDECU, the Damon-verse.
The Damon-verse.
So every single Matt Damon movie is in the same universe. At me.
Let's do a deep dive eventually on all Matt Damon movies and figure out how this timeline works.
Oh, I have it written out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I just haven't looked at it in a long time.
It's like that Charlie Day meme where you're just like coming in.
Oh yeah, that picture is me talking about Matt Damon. I haven't.
Is he like your boy? Like if you had to pick a boy, like that's Matt Damon?
I just think it's funny. It's turned into a meme for myself to be like every single movie is in Matt Damon's. So I'm like trying to figure out how each movie.
How it all connects.
Yeah, The Last Duel. That's just great whatever of Matt Damon.
That checks out.
Yeah, and the Great Wall, same thing.
Okay. The Great Wall.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
No qualms here.
That's pretty much it.
Sick. Okay, well, that's our first episode on movies we love, and I guess actors we love too, which is Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Any questions about
the Damon-verse?
The validity of
Michael's Damon-verse? Please ask away.
Yeah, email us at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.
Yeah. Thousands of emails we're gonna get, Nick. Thousands of emails.
Amazing. Well, you've probably heard about Good Will Hunting by now, but now you've heard from us, not us, United.
That's right. Thanks,
we'll
everyone.
See you later. I need a break.
You've just listened to Not Us United. You can find us under Not Us United on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Please leave us a review and consider subscribing to our podcast. You can reach out for future podcast topic suggestions at notusunitedpod@gmail.com.